Today we're getting into the latest Tesla news, including Tesla's commitment to double production in the United States, new features coming to the latest Teslas via software, updates for the Cybercab and self-driving, and more, so let's get into it. First up today, as we often talk about on this channel, one of the best parts about owning a Tesla vehicle is getting software updates throughout ownership. Sometimes these fix issues that maybe shouldn't have launched on the car, but for the most part you're getting lots of improvements throughout ownership that Tesla could only have delivered after the fact. They were able to learn things from collecting vehicle data and improve on things from there. Sometimes we've seen efficiency updates, sometimes we've seen great new features come about that they weren't sure they could do before and then were able to do in the future. In any case, if you've owned a Tesla for a couple of years, you've experienced the vast difference that comes with owning this car over time. You get a lot more features than when you bought the car. One such feature that is now arriving in the latest vehicles is adaptive headlights. This is something that is long overdue for the United States, and from Tesla in general, and this technology has existed overseas for quite some time, but it's very exciting to see it finally arriving on Tesla vehicles. Tesla is now officially delivering the updated refreshed Model Y in the United States, and it's coming with this adaptive headlights feature activated. Essentially, this enhances nighttime driving safety by adjusting light distribution based on driving conditions and surrounding traffic. So these adaptive headlights utilize the matrix LED arrays that Tesla has shipped on their cars for quite some time, and it can selectively dim or brighten individual LEDs. So this allows drivers to use their high beams continuously without blinding oncoming drivers or causing glare to other road users. The system automatically detects other drivers and automatically dims the lights in those particular regions. It's a really great technology that allows for you to have tons of visibility and others to not be annoyed or distracted by it. This feature has been available on many other cars for a long time in other markets, and it has been available on Tesla vehicles in Europe and Asia-Pacific regions, but their introduction to North America was delayed due to regulatory approvals. One of the first companies we saw actually bring this out was Rivian, who brought them to their US 2025 model year R1S and R1T with a software update in August of 2024. So for right now, one Tesla vehicle has this updated feature, the refreshed Model Y, but soon it should be coming to others like the Cybertruck next. They plan to expand this to other cars that also have matrix headlights, including the Cybertruck, and then it's expected to come via an over-the-air software update like we talked about. So this again is a feature that you couldn't get when this car first launched because they actually were still seeking regulatory approval. This is by no means a standard feature on vehicles in the United States, so Tesla is one of the first companies here to actually enable this feature. They've been shipping matrix headlights on their cars for quite some time, so we'll have to see how far back they can go with this feature and delivering this to customers. My personal hope is they can go at least a few years back with things like the latest refreshed Model 3, Cybertruck, Model S and X, and maybe the Model Y, since they do small updates here and there to that car, and it seems it should have the right hardware. Time will tell though, and it seems like it probably will be a little bit of a slow rollout, but I'm excited to see this feature come about nonetheless. On the other side of things though, in addition to software upgrades, Tesla is always iterating vehicle production when it comes to hardware. They're constantly making tiny tweaks on the assembly line instead of waiting for yearly refreshes. And that's why we see these larger refreshes take something like 4 or 5 years typically. Well, for those headlights, one change that Tesla did make is they added the really high resolution matrix headlights on their cars previously, but then they actually downgraded those to lower resolution headlights. That's because they didn't actually need the high fidelity that was there, and they should be able to still deliver this feature with the lower resolution headlights. That's technically a removal of a feature, but also a removal of a feature I don't think anyone was actually taking advantage of. But a feature that Tesla is adding is new sensors within the tires on the Cybertruck. Tesla has introduced new smart tire tread sensors in the Cybertruck tires, and this enhances real-time data collection and vehicle performance overall as a result. These sensors were developed by Cerebrum, and they're embedded within the tire's rubber sleeve beneath the acoustic dampening foam. Ultimately, they're designed to be transferable to new tires when replacements are needed. They measure a number of different parameters, including camber alignment, tire load, tire wear, and road surface conditions. So this data will help Tesla refine vehicle dynamics and enhance safety features. Ultimately, real-time analysis from this data should help Tesla within each vehicle to enhance driver safety by way of improving dynamics, grip on the road, suspension, and more. There's also speculation that this could lead to future software features that give you a lot of information about how your tires are doing. Things like detailed tire condition displays and proactive maintenance alerts could be something we see in the settings menu now. On top of that, we could get information on uneven wear or alignment needs, which is something we haven't really seen in cars previously. Previously, these were just estimates based on mileage and how long it would be until you need to get your tires checked. But here, it could actually give you updated information about why you need to get your tires checked with real data. This definitely looks to be a fairly interesting feature, and we'll see it first on the Cybertruck from here. I'm curious to see what actually comes about here, and if we find out about this sensor and get info from it on the consumer side, or if Tesla just basically keeps it internal for their own data usage. With that said, it's always interesting to see Tesla adding and deleting sensors. On one side of things, they have never shipped a rain sensor on their latest vehicles. Instead, they've gone with their deep rain neural network that learns based on the cameras, and still it's not that great. It's one of those features that people joke about will actually come after Tesla solves full autonomy for everyone. It seems they could have fixed that by simply adding a little sensor a long time ago, and it probably would have saved them a lot of research and development cost, and they would have just added a small sensor that's been around for decades. On the other side of things, they've removed radar and ultrasonic sensors and have opted for Tesla Vision instead, and now the latest cars, though, are adding a front bumper camera. They've also added interior radar to their latest cars, and then here, they're of course adding a new sensor within the tires. So Tesla is always adding sensors and deleting sensors, but no matter what, I think they do know that the future will require a lot of sensors. Things like these tire features need the data from the sensors themselves, and they can't just estimate absolutely everything with cameras. In any case, I'm curious to see what happens with these tire sensors in the future, and which car may get them next, and then which cars will get the adaptive headlights next after the updated, refreshed Model Y. Next up today, one of the best parts about Tesla is that for the vehicles that they deliver in the United States, they're all made within the United States. Tesla actually holds the title for the most American-made vehicle with the Model Y, and that's including all of the parts that are sourced to actually build that car, and then final assembly, of course, happens in California and Texas for that car, and for cars delivered within the United States. As such, the question always remains, where will Tesla build from here? They, of course, have their 4 main vehicles that they ship, with 5 being the Cybertruck, but still the Model 3 and Y take up the majority of their sales. Even so, those start around $40,000, so people want to see cheaper options come from Tesla, and that is in their plans. But just recently, Elon Musk announced that Tesla will be doubling their production within the United States. When the president was buying a new Model S from Elon Musk, he said, quote, "As an act of faith in America, Tesla is going to double vehicle output in the United States within 2 years. Double." He also reiterated this in a tweet saying, "In support of the policies of President Donald Trump and to demonstrate our confidence in the future of the United States, Tesla commits to doubling vehicle production in the US within 2 years." So that doubling of production in the United States could just be a blind promise here that could lead to overproduction problems and possibly future discounts on Teslas. And obviously he could backtrack on this at the same time if he wants to. But it does seem like this is something that's going to happen and was going to happen anyway. He's just talking about it. The first question there with doubling production, though, is will the demand be there? I think if Tesla were to double production of the current vehicles that they make and not add a price drop in that process, we'd probably just end up with excess inventory and lots of inventory discounts continuing to get larger so that customers will buy these cars. But more likely, this is just Elon Musk publicly talking about what Tesla has planned to do regardless. Right now, Tesla's capacity in California is a little over 650,000 vehicles per year. In Texas, it's a little over 375,000 per year, except 125,000 of that is for the Cybertruck, and we'll see if they do end up needing that capacity, depending on how demand continues for that car. So in theory, they could make 1.025 million vehicles per year in the United States. But in reality, they produce about 700,000. At least that's what they made in 2024. So double of that would be 1.4 million units coming out of the United States. Or other numbers actually say less, about 665,000 vehicles that were produced in 2024. So based on that number, in order to double production in the next 2 years, they'd need 1.33 million vehicles produced. So how is Tesla actually going to get there? Well, here's how it's probably going to pan out. They will probably keep production of their current vehicles about the same. Maybe things will increase a little with this refreshed Model Y specifically, but then we know that they plan to make new, more affordable models later this year. We still do not know exactly what those will look like, but if they actually come in at cheaper pricing, that will drive up demand, and it will be more popular than their current vehicles. Then they plan to make the robotaxi, which Elon actually said is coming next year. He's previously talked about volume production coming next year, but has also said the car itself would be coming this year. But here he simply said that vehicle is starting production next year. But then there's the vehicle a lot of people forget, the Tesla Semi. Tesla is ramping up production of the Tesla Semi out of their new factory, and they plan to be making about 50,000 units annually by 2026. So to reach this goal, Tesla would probably have to make about another 665,000 vehicles per year, or possibly 700,000, and it seems like 50,000 of those would be the Tesla Semi. A little bit more of those could probably be this refreshed Model Y, and then a significant chunk of that could also be these new, more affordable models. But it does seem like a lot of this is also based on the Robotaxi. The Robotaxi is a lot easier for them to make, so they probably can ramp up production fairly quickly. It's also smaller, so it doesn't require as many resources like batteries. But of course, it's entirely reliant on them achieving full self-driving. So it does seem like this has been Tesla's goal all along, but it is a little bit contingent on them achieving self-driving. Or we'll have to see what these new, more affordable models are for 2025. Maybe they will be something incredibly exciting that we know will do incredibly well. So in some ways, this is big news that Tesla is committing to double production in the United States, and in other ways, this is nothing new. This is basically what they've been talking about for quite some time, and with these new expected products, it should happen. But what do you think about this situation, especially with everything going on right now? Do you think Tesla can double production, and will the demand actually be there? Leave a comment below to let me know your thoughts. Before we go any further, I want to mention one great product that you might benefit from. That's the Samsung T7 solid-state drive. All Teslas now come included with a flash drive in the glove box to save footage from features like Sentry mode and Dashcam. It's what enables these features to work, but ultimately these drives are pretty basic flash drives that are just relabeled with Tesla's own logo. That's why I always recommend a solid SSD, and the Samsung T7 is overall my favorite drive. First, this gives you more storage for more Sentry mode and Dashcam clips over time, so it won't fill up, and you won't have to delete old footage, stuff that you may need to have referenced in the future, and then it just improves reliability and longevity of that drive as a whole. This is also a great drive in general that I use all the time at home for computers and video work and more, so it's definitely worth checking out, and it's linked in the description below. Next up today, the Cybercab and full self-driving are very important to Tesla's future plans. And as such, we've seen the Cybercab out testing around Giga Texas pretty consistently. Recently, Tesla held a Model Y refresh handoff event at Giga Texas for the few first customers, and at that event, Cybercabs were seen driving all around autonomously. It's definitely a very cool look and very interesting to see with people's own footage there. But even when people aren't there, we do know that Tesla is consistently testing these Cybercabs. And one new detail that was recently spotted was these new black covers on the wheels. Previously, we had only seen the paint-matched covers or no covers at all. And without the covers, it definitely had a different look that didn't look quite as good. Here, it seems that there are covers on it, but they're black. There's a great video of this car navigating around that gets pretty close, and I think it looks very cool seeing this car in action. It also performs a pretty sharp turn right here. From this drone footage, we do have a great overhead view as well that makes it look like this Cybercab may not have a steering wheel. Up until now, we've been seeing a lot of Cybercabs with backup steering wheels, and that's likely so that whoever's testing it can take over when necessary. But now it seems like this one may not have one, or if we look a little closer, it may actually have one. We're not entirely sure, but no matter what, it doesn't really indicate where they are at in this process. No matter what, we know they're going to need to do some testing with this car with a steering wheel to take over, but the ultimate plan is that it does not have to ship with it because the self-driving technology is that good. But speaking of that full self-driving technology, the latest Tesla vehicles perform this the best, but the Cybertruck has actually been a little bit behind Tesla's other vehicles when it comes to full self-driving capabilities. Overall, it has the majority of the capabilities on the highway and on normal streets, but they're now going to be adding a few different features. First is the ability to start full self-driving from park. Right now in Tesla's other vehicles, you can simply navigate to your destination, and if it allows you to do so, you press start and it will shift into drive or reverse accordingly and do your entire drive for you. Soon that Start FSD button will arrive in the Cybertruck, and then this will also add the ability to autonomously shift between park, drive, and reverse, which allows you to do 3-point turns in confined spaces. I'm very curious to see this performed in the Cybertruck since the Cybertruck is so large, and it has 4-wheel steering, which makes it fairly maneuverable. The next one is autonomous parking, so upon reaching a destination, FSD will automatically identify and park in available spots without user intervention, and then this includes an improved FSD controller, which will lead to better traffic prediction accuracy, precise 3D position tracking, and more efficient environmental analysis, which ends up with a smoother and more responsive drive. The last feature is one that is definitely long overdue for the Cybertruck, and that is Smart Summon, or actually Smart Summon as it is called in its latest iteration. This is where the Cybertruck can navigate parking lots and come to the owner's location autonomously, and it will use the front bumper camera for improved obstacle detection. I imagine that they kept this off of the Cybertruck until it was at a certain level of capability, since that car is just so large. But I am excited to see that, and then eventually see Banish or Reverse Smart Summon, which in theory should allow the car to drop you off at the front of your destination and then go find a parking spot for you. This update is expected in the next few weeks and will first align the Cybertruck with the capabilities of other Hardware 4 vehicles right now, and it seems like it could add a few capabilities on top of it. Over in other markets though, FSD rollout is facing some regulatory challenges, and we've always known that this would be a part of the full self-driving system. Over in the UK though, a revised draft of their laws now restricts functionalities to highway maneuvers, like lane changes, and it mandates that drivers must keep their hands on the steering wheel. Right now, this is not really how the full self-driving system works. It can do a lot more than this, and then it doesn't require your hand to be on the wheel. It instead monitors with the interior camera, at least in its full form on Hardware 4 vehicles. But in the UK, they want it to be a phased rollout to evaluate the impact on driver behavior and overall road safety. So Tesla had previously indicated that evolving regulatory challenges could end up delaying FSD rollout in the UK until something like 2028, and this seems to somewhat confirm that. Definitely unfortunate to see for that market, but they are being very cautious, and we'll see how that goes over time as Tesla proves their full self-driving capabilities. If the Cybercab really can come next year, they may be able to prove things very well over in the UK and get this pushed up, but we'll have to see. Right now, one very impressive demonstration of Tesla's self-driving capabilities is happening at their factories every day. Tesla's head of AI said thousands of Teslas drive themselves each week to the loading docks. And more of an explanation of what he's talking about here is thousands of newly produced Tesla vehicles now use FSD unsupervised each week to autonomously drive approximately 1.2 miles from the end of the production line to the loading dock lanes. This is a specific use case with a specific predetermined route, but it's still very impressive nonetheless and doesn't eliminate the calibration process that customers used to have to do on their own when they first got their Tesla vehicles. Last up today, at this point, Tesla's main factory in the United States is Giga, Texas. That factory has grown and is very impressive to see. And Omid Afshar at Tesla tweeted about this, saying, quote, "A capacity for greater than 250,000 Model Ys. The new Model Y, Cybertrucks all built at Giga, Texas." For now, that's their main vehicle production, but they've expanded beyond this already and are expanding in the future. They have around a 50,000 GPU training cluster, Cortex, that has helped enable version 13 of FSD. Then there's that new tunnel under the highway, reducing travel by 1,000 meters from the end of the production line to the logistics yard. We see this as the Cyber Tunnel, and it's very impressive to see. Then we've seen the start of driverless cars from the factory directly to the specific outbound lane where the vehicle will be loaded onto a truck for delivery. And lastly, Cybercab preparations have already begun with volume production planned for 2026. It's very impressive to see everything that Giga Texas is already doing, especially because this is in response to Joe Techmeyer posting about where Giga Texas was at 3 years ago exactly. 3 years ago, the first Model Ys produced at this factory showed up outside of the factory. So within 3 years, we've seen that entire list of things at Giga Texas come true. Oftentimes, Tesla has very optimistic deadlines and goals, so people can sometimes think they never get anything done or everything is late. Regardless of those timelines, though, it's very impressive to see when things are tight and when things get done, what all Tesla can do. I think that one particular advancement people may not be fully aware of is that training cluster at Giga Texas that has enabled V13 of FSD. It's very impressive, and this factory has grown and will only continue growing from here. That's all the latest Tesla news for today, so in the meantime, if you want to see a full breakdown of my cost to repair my Cybertruck, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.